this special report. The threat to the Aquino government has been crushed. The nation is safe and our democracy preserved. A band of misguided elements in the armed forces have launched a bold but futile attempt to destabilize President Aquino from power. It was by far the most bloodiest attempt to seize political power in her 18-month-old rule. The leader of the coup was ironically one of the heroes of the EDSA revolt that installed Mrs. Aquino to power and drove out the discredited regime of Ferdinand Marcos. Unlike in previous attempts to unseat her, which the lady chief executive took with relative calm, Mrs. Aquino this time displayed a strong-willed and iron-hand policy against the rebels. With her words, there will be no terms. A shoot-to-kill order was issued against the now renegade Colonel Onasan. We now bring you a recapitulation of yesterday's events as brought to you by our ABS-CBN news teams who were at the scene as the government grappled with the threat to its very existence in prayerful silence. Good evening. I'm your host, Angelo Castro Jr. Join us as we review the events that have made us realize that the struggle for democracy is far from over. The battle for its survival has just begun. And here is how ABS-CBN News saw a nation in crisis. The 28th military uprising, considered by far the bloodiest and most daring challenge to the 18-month-old Aquino government, was precipitated by a big bang that rocked the Metro Manila Commission complex in Quezon City and the nearby Philippine Coconut Authority building shortly before midnight of August 27. The explosion shook a wide area and cut off electric power up to the UP Balara complex, Camyas, and Projects 2 and 3, which are within a radius of 4 to 5 kilometers from the explosion site. Luckily, no one was hurt. When ABS-CBN news team and police operatives went over to the MMC and Philcoa areas, they saw everything in a mess. Looking closer inside the building, it was determined that there were actually 3 bombs planted in different places in the MMC complex that went off simultaneously, sending shock waves in all directions. The simultaneous bombings apparently signaled the start of a mutiny staged by a disgruntled fragment of the military. 5 strategic places were to see action in the next 20 hours. Shortly before 2 in the morning, some 300 rebel soldiers on board 3 10-wheeler trucks and 2 Baliwag buses disembarked at the Frutas Nagsahan Bridge in Santa Mesa. Some managed to sneak in through or else seat despite 6 sentries positioned at the St. Jude Church, a few hundred meters away from President Aquino's official residence in Arlegui. The president's only son, Benigno III, was at a late-night meeting at the Dasmariñas village home of Secretary Joker Arroyo. He tried to rush home upon hearing over a local radio station that the presidential palace was being stormed. Reaching the St. Jude checkpoint, he was motioned by the rebel soldiers to stop. Identifying himself, Noynoy said he tried to reason out with the rebels, surrendered his pistol and several personal belongings. A volley of shots fired by the rebels hit Noynoy in the nape and the left arm, killed 3 of his bodyguards, and seriously wounded the 4th who was with him in the car. By 3 in the morning, the first word from Malacanang came from Secretary Joker Arroyo, who went on the air over a radio station to assure the public that the president and her family were safe. No mention was made of the shooting incident that injured Noynoy and killed his security men. Meanwhile, hell broke loose in nearby Ramon Magsaysay Avenue and Nagtahan in Santa Mesa and at Loreto Street in Sampaloc. Rebel soldiers were firing directly and indiscriminately at innocent civilians. Young boys who roamed the streets at night figured high in the list of casualties. Even the media was not spared from the shelling. Staff vehicles bearing reporters and photographers were either fired at or chased by armed rebels. At 3:45 in the morning, hospitals near Malacanang were teeming with wounded civilians and soldiers alike. The USC hospital took in the most number of casualties, 30 seriously wounded and 2 dead on arrival, shortly before 4 in the morning. President at 4:45 a.m. showed her cool and composed handling of the situation. Only a terse statement saying she was safe with the Presidential Security Chief, Colonel Voltaire Gasmin, in contrast to the otherwise elaborate recount of events, revealed that everything was not all right at the palace. The palace press corps had been barred from entering the palace gates in the early morning of the 28th. By noon, the corps were allowed to enter, only to find no information and no official statements to forward to the press. Elsewhere in Metro Manila, fighting had intensified. More deaths and injuries were being reported. TV stations were under siege. The rebels who fled Malacanang had regrouped at the gates of Camps Crame and Aguinaldo. By mid-morning, Channel 13 at the Broadcast City complex was taken over by the rebel soldiers who were telling the whole nation what ideals they believed in, what flaws they found in the present leadership, what terms they wanted. But the government replied, there are not going to be any terms. Mid-afternoon, President Aquino decisively spoke through a televised address to the nation.
Mga kababayan, last night, rebel soldiers attacked Malacanang. The Presidential Security Group, with tragic loss of lives, decisively defeated them. The rebels then fled to Camp Aguinaldo. Groups of rebels went on to try to seize Channel 4. This attempt has likewise failed. As Commander-in-Chief, I order the Chief of Staff and the Armed Forces to terminate this mutiny as soon as possible. There will be no terms. I have nothing to say to these traitors. Before noon today, I ordered an assault on the rebels in Camp Aguinaldo. We have opened up with artillery. The assault is to continue until the rebellion is crushed. There will be no terms. The rebels say they mean the people no harm, but outside Malacanang this morning, they gunned down innocent civilians who had cheered for our government. The majority of those hurt or killed by the rebels have been civilians. Speaking as your president, let me assure our people that government is firmly in control of the situation. We shall defeat and punish these traitors. The armed forces and police, true to their pledge of loyalty to flag, country, and Commander-in-Chief, are at this very moment moving to destroy this threat. I commend their bravery. Bilang inyong Pangulo, ako'y muling nananawagan at nakikiusap sa inyo. Huwag po nating kalimutan ang ating hirap, ang ating pagod, at ang mga buhay na nawala upang ibalik ang ating kalayaan, upang ibalik ang demokrasya. Ngayon po, naririto na naman itong mga taong ito, nagpapanggap, nagsisinungaling na naman, na sila raw ang mag-aalaga sa ating kalayaan. Ginagawa daw nila ito upang pangalagaan ang ating kinabukasan. Ginagawa raw nila ito upang pangalagaan ang ating mga anak. Ngunit kaninang umaga ng alas 2, ang kaisa-isang anak ko, si Noynoy, ay nabaril, nasugatan. At yung mga kasama niya, 4 na kasama niya, isa po, malubha pa ngayon, yung 3 ay napatay. Hindi ko po papayagan na itong mga taong ito na muling nagsisinungaling sa atin ay ibalik yung kanilang karahasan ng nakaraan na diktador. Tayo pong lahat, kung magsasama tayo, dahil alam ko po ang aking kapangyarihan ay galing sa inyo, minamahal ko mga kababayan. Ito po ay lagi nating pag-iisipan, lagi po nating tatandaan na kung tayo magsasama-sama, ay kaya po nating sugpuin itong mga dambuhalang ito. Alam po ninyo, malaki po ang pag-asa ko dahil alam ko, kayo, ako, ay palaging magsasama upang pangalagaan ang ating kalayaan.
Though somewhat restrained in tone, her pronouncements carried a weight far too heavy to be ignored.